Okay, so here's the first equation that we are going to balance. So the first thing to do is to check whether everything's right. It's not, so we need to make it into H2O and Cl2. And then on the right hand side of the equation, we've got 2 times Na, 1 there, and 1 there. Whereas on this side we've only got 1. So we need to make, so doubling up the 2 NaOH means that it's now balanced. Okay, so if you remember our rules, we've got to work out the RFM. So here's our balanced equation, and the question might be if you had 100 grams of sodium hydroxide, NaOH, how much chlorine is needed to convert it to bleach. And bleach is this chemical here. So we need to work out the RFMs of sodium hydroxide and chlorine. So sodium hydroxide, first of all, and we'll do that one in red. So sodium has a relative atomic mass of 23, oxygen has a relative atomic mass of 16, and hydrogen 1. So add them all together. And that comes to 40. Okay, and we'll do chlorine now, and we'll do that one in blue. So you've only got 2 lots of chlorine. So chlorine is 35.5 plus 35.5. Or you can times that by 2, it doesn't really matter, you get the same thing. You get 70. So we're only concerned with these 2 chemicals.
Do we have an assembly?
Okay, so we're only concerned with these 2 chemicals, sodium hydroxide and chlorine. Remembering that from the previous part of the slide, NaOH had a relative form mass of 40, but we've got 2 moles of it, this bit here. So this is now in total worth 80, which is 2 times 40, and the chlorine is worth 70. So you could say for every 80 grams sodium hydroxide we make 70 grams. We need 70 grams of chlorine. Okay. But in the question, we had 100 grams of sodium hydroxide. So we must make slightly more chlorine, but we need to know how much. So there's 2 ways of working that out. So the first way is to say, what do I times 80 by to get to 70? Well, times it by 70 divided by 80. Okay, so notice that the 80 and 80 cancel out and you get 70. So that's how you get across that way. And then what you need to do to your value here, the 100 grams, is do exactly the same as you did here. So times it by 70 over 80. And you get to a new number, which will be the answer to the question, which gives you 87.5 grams. With that decimal point obvious, okay, 87.5 grams. Okay, so the second method involves writing out the 2 relative form masses again, so I've done that with 80, just here. So this is 80 for NaOH, 2 lots of it, and 70 for chlorine, 35.5 times 2. But then we want to get to 100 grams from 80. So we divide everything by 80, get to 1, times it by 100, you get to 100. And do the same thing to this side. Divide it by 80, and then times by 100. You'll end up with exactly the same answer as before, which was 87.5 grams. Okay, so that means that from 100 grams of sodium hydroxide, we're making 87.5 grams of chlorine. Remember, it's important to balance the equation, work out the relative formula masses, and if you've got 2 moles of something, you have to double the relative formula masses, as we have done here. Or if you've got 3, triple it, and so on. Okay, so how do we apply that to an exam question? Well, here's the exam question from a paper, and we've got this equation here. They've told us we've got 100 grams, so I've highlighted that in yellow, and they've kindly given you the 2 relative formula masses. So it's only worth 2 marks, so it should be quite quick to do. So you'd say salicylic acid is 138, and they're asking you how much aspirin you would make from 100 grams of that. And aspirin has got a relative formula mass of 180. And so before going further, you can check, you can just about make out that it is actually balanced already. So you've got the same number of carbons on each side, the same number of hydrogens on each side, and the same number of oxygens. So you've got something going from 138 to 180. So I prefer doing it this way, by going across like that, saying that now I need to get from 138 to 180, I must times 138 by 180 over 138. Okay, so then as the bottom, we know we've got 100 grams of salicylic acid, and so to get to the product we also times it by 180 over 138, which gives us a value of 130.4 grams, and that would be the answer which goes in here. Okay, so they've already given you the grams and the question is a unit, so you simply get a mark for doing the working out and getting the number. Remembering that in the exam question, if it says this, show clearly how you work out your answer, you must show it in this box here.